Could Colorado, everyone's favorite Big 12 team, be in trouble against Baylor? Well, Kevin Borba of Locked On Buffs told me before we hopped on here to record something that concerns me mightily, Kevin. It could rain on Saturday in Boulder. Now, if you give me clean weather, I like Colorado in this spot quite a bit because, as I've talked about all year, and I've correctly picked their outcomes for the first 3 games, they are an improved football team. Baylor, moderately improved, but the game is in Boulder. But I tell you what, Kevin, if you tell me right now it's going to be raining and make it harder to throw the football, my confidence in the Buffs plummets down to the point where I don't even know how to feel on this game.
Yeah, I think the rain is an interesting element. And then I think Deion Sanders' response to the rain, another interesting element. He kind of made it seem like they were preparing for sunny weather. Now, he obviously could have been trolling, but when the offense has the fourth
Deion
most
trolling? No,
he would never.
No.
Not Coach Prime. When the offense has the 4th most passing attempts in college football, it does get a little worrisome. I do have a little glimmer of hope for their run game after what we saw against Colorado State, but will they rely on it enough? I don't know. But at the end of the day, Baylor has to deal with the same circumstances. Baylor has a very interesting offense situation at quarterback, so I still think that Colorado realistically should have an edge, wouldn't you? Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, just give him the ball. Let him do this.
I trust Colorado's offense more. And look, it's only a torrential downpour that would stop it. If it drizzles lightly, like it might impact a pass here or there, but won't radically alter the game. So, forecast permitting, I'm taking Colorado to win the football game. I think this is fun, though, because I like what I've seen from Baylor in the first couple of weeks. And I know Air Force is a regression team in the Mountain West this year. They lost a lot from last year's team. But still, Baylor thumped them. Baylor dominated them on both sides of the football, and that's what you should do against an average Mountain West team, and that's not what Baylor has done against G5 teams in the past. So I think Baylor's improved. I think Colorado gets a real push here, but give me the Buffs and the home crowd. This is the first of many Big 12 predictions you and I are about to make, but I think the Buffs win this game. Now, the total, according to our friends at FanDuel, is 51.5. And Kevin, that is lower than I would have expected it to be, which makes me think Vegas knows either about the weather or something about this matchup. So give me the under in a low-scoring game, or lower scoring than people expect. I think Colorado wins 23-20.
Yeah, I think it's a really tough one to look at. I want to go over, but I know I can't. Colorado just hasn't been putting up points like they have in years past. So I've kind of been hovering around this 24-17 kind of vibe, which is right at the cusp, which that's how those odds makers roll. They make a living off of people thinking, hey, this could be the over. And so I think realistically Colorado wins a close one. I think it's going to be ugly. I think, like you talked about, if it's a torrential downpour, that changes a lot of things because I trust Baylor's run game more. But until I see the weather reports where it's like, oh, it's going to be pouring, I'm going with Colorado. I trust them more. Plus it's homecoming. I don't know if that factors into anything, but it is.
Yeah, so at the very least, as you would expect, you're going to have a fired up crowd there in Boulder. Let's go around the rest of the Big 12 and make our Big 12 predictions for the week. Let's start with Kansas and West Virginia. Kevin, both of these fan bases coming into the year had at least some level of upper tier Big 12 aspirations. The loser, because this is not European soccer or any kind of soccer. We don't do ties in college football. We're not the NFL. One of these teams is going to be 1-3 after this weekend, and I cannot get behind the Jayhawks, who I had faith in before the season. They were my pick to make the Big 12 title game, but I am off the Kansas hype train. The offense is anemic. Jalen Daniels turned the football over. This game is in Morgantown. Give me Garrett Green and the Mountaineers.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. West Virginia is looking better than Kansas. I think Jalen Daniels, he looks like he's regressed, in my opinion. When you lose a game to a UNLV team that had 86 passing yards, it's never a good game. So, yeah, going to go with West Virginia here.
Under the radar best game of the week in the Big 12, not the actual one, which we'll get to in just a moment, but Arizona State 3-0. They've surprised a lot of people, Kevin, not me, but they've surprised a lot of others. Texas Tech, disappointing game against Washington State, almost lost to Abilene Christian week 1. They're at home, favored by 3 points against the Sun Devils. I think ASU fights and scraps and claws and ultimately comes up just short. If this were in Tempe, I take ASU, but I think the Red Raiders are going to figure it out. I don't know why. I just trust Joey McGuire here.
I'm the opposite. I don't trust Joey McGuire. I trust Kenny Dillingham and Arizona State a lot more. I like Cameron Scatterbo. Realistically, I think if it comes down to trust, which for a game like this where it's so close, Joey McGuire and the Texas Tech Red Raiders have been all over the board. They go to overtime against Abilene Christian, and then they get blown out by Washington State. And then they blow out North Texas, who people were projecting to upset them. So I'm going to go with Arizona State. They oddly feel like the safer pick to me.
Well, I see where you're coming from. I think this is a get-right opportunity for Texas Tech. You win this game. This is a much more important game for Texas Tech than it is for ASU. I don't think ASU has peaked necessarily, but I do think that Texas Tech wins this football game, and you could see them start to rack up wins and play better football, because you're right, they did play much better last week against the Mean Green. But the game of the week in the Big 12, talking about this one much more in detail on the first segment of tomorrow's show, Utah, Oklahoma State, top 15 showdown. It's at Boone Pickens Stadium, which is not as hard of a place to go into and win as you might expect. I've got the Utes here as long as Cam Rising plays. If he comes off the field for any extended period of time, I'll take Oklahoma State because Alan Bowman's been good this year. I think Bowman gets exposed by that Utah defense. If Cam Rising plays, give me the Utes. They're favored by 2 points, and I think the Utes cover that number easily, 31-21.
Yeah, I think the key is Cam Rising. Assuming he's healthy, I'm going with them. Alan Bowman, he doesn't move me realistically, even though these are like two of the most veteran quarterbacks in college football. And Ollie Gordon, I don't think he's been what we expected. And even if he was, this is a tough team, this Utah team. You're not going to run the ball against them. So I think Utah's defense kind of gives them the edge. And even if Cam Rising maybe goes down, we did see some bright moments from Isaac Wilson last week after a slow start. So going Utah here, and I think Utah's probably my favorite to win the Big 12 anyway. And so this is a real good litmus test for them.
Non-conference battle in Dallas, and the team from Fort Worth coming down, TCU, SMU, in a battle of three-letter schools. Look, TCU, I think, got unlucky at some level last week against UCF. That's a coin flip, go either way game. Defense needs to improve under Andy Avalos. I think they can. SMU has not impressed me in the slightest. Horned Frogs favored by 3 on the road. I think they go into Dallas. I think they win big. I love TCU in a bounce-back spot this week. I love how Josh Hoover has played. He's yet to throw an interception this season. Give me the Horned Frogs big, 34-13.
Yeah, I don't trust SMU at all. I was really high on them coming into the year. They were kind of like a dark horse team, in the quote-unquote dark horse team in the ACC, and they go out and almost lose to a bad Nevada team. Then they lose to a BYU team who I think me and you could both agree are probably in the lower echelon of the Big 12. So SMU doesn't move me at all. I think Josh Hoover and TCU get things going again on offense. And realistically, I think this is the perfect tune-up game for the defense. Preston Stone and Kevin Jennings, neither of them have really impressed me at quarterback. And when you have a iffy quarterback situation, I can't trust you.
I'm with you there. I can't stand the two quarterback systems. I'm surprised that Preston Stone hasn't solidified the QB1 spot. Didn't even think that was a concern coming into the year, but he has not been at his best, and they've gone back and forth. I think it's an iffy situation. I think Hoover outplays whoever is on the other side for the Mustangs. Kansas State goes to Provo, a couple of 3-0 teams here. I like Kansas State. They're favored by 6.5 points, though, Kevin. I don't know if they cover that number. BYU is sneaky good. Yeah. But Kansas State is a better team overall. I'll take the Wildcats to win, but give me BYU to keep that one close, 28-24.
See, I think if this was in the Little Apple, right, I'd go Kansas State by double digits. But since it's in Provo, it scares me a little. So I'm going to go Kansas State close one, probably by a field goal-ish. You know, I think realistically, BYU behind their rowdy home crowd, they always play well at home, and Kansas State has shown that they are prone to playing down to opponents. We saw with Tulane, and it's kind of a weird situation with them. I don't trust them as much as I thought I would.
Yeah, and I think for BYU, crowd's gonna have their hair on fire. They're a confident bunch right now.
Yeah.
I think the quarterback gap is going to showcase itself in this game. Avery Johnson's been just okay throwing the football, but Jake Retzlaff has had his turnover problems. He's got to protect it. That's always important for this BYU offense, but I think Avery Johnson showcases that he's the much better player here, and I think Kansas State goes in and wins the game. But, boy, that is going to be really, really fun. Late on Saturday night, that is at 8:30 Mountain Time. Earlier in the day, though, last couple of games here to pick in the Big 12, Iowa State against Arkansas State. I don't think the Cyclones have a problem here. They're a 22-point favorite. Cincinnati hosting Houston. Kevin, I'm not picking Houston to win another game this season, at least not until I see something else from the Cougars. I know they played a good game against Oklahoma, but I think that might be one of the better performances they have this year. So give me Cincinnati at home to win and cover and get to get to 3-1 this year, and I think Iowa State cruises.
Yeah, I think that game against Oklahoma says more about Oklahoma than it does Houston. Realistically, I'm going with Cincinnati here. This feels like a battle of two of the bottom Big 12 teams. And yeah, I feel bad for Houston because I do like Willie Fritz a lot. I do think
he'll be fine.
He'll be fine, right? It's just
but not right now.
Not now. I think Cincinnati wins this one, and I don't think it's going to be like. I think it's going to be a close game. I think these two teams are probably fairly even matched. I just don't trust Houston. I think they have a long season ahead of them.
That's your full slate of Big 12 picks for the week, and Kevin Borba of Locked On Buffs joining me. Kevin, appreciate the time, my man.
Yep.
Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time, and until then, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.